Hello friends, this is Ashirwad here. In this video we'll cover up some basic things about C++ programming language. So let's begin. Well, the C++ programming language was developed by a person named as John Stroustrup or Barn Stroustrup, whatever is the correct pronunciation of his name, in 70s. And I believe it is at AT&T's Bell Laboratories, USA. So C++ language became highly popular because of its features at that time. So this is the start of the language, and the biggest power of this language at that time was object orientation. Okay. Just remember the term object orientation. You will not get anything out of it right now. I will be covering it later. So this was the big feature of C++, and it became highly popular. So let us begin with the next thing, that how C++ program gets executed. Okay. Well, the big question before discussing this particular diagram is, can a machine understand programming language? Since I told earlier that when you're talking about learning programming, you're doing simply you're simply writing instructions, okay? And the machine will follow those instructions. And the thing is that the instructions must be written in a language that machine can understand. Okay, so machine cannot understand any language other than its own language, okay, which is called as machine code, or we also call it in the field of computer science as binary language. Okay. Which is the language of zeros and ones. So the computer or the processor can understand only that. So the big problem is, if you're writing a program in any programming language, okay, it must be converted into machine language so that the processor can execute the instructions. Okay, and here comes the role of a special utility software called compiler. Okay, so what the job of the compiler is that it takes the program written in any programming language, C++ in this case of course, and it will convert that program into machine code, and then the machine will execute. So this is how the program of written in C++ gets executed. Okay. Now, before starting writing code in C++, you need to have very good understanding of tokens. Okay. So what are tokens? The simplest possible definition I have written here is, anything that a programming language can understand is called token. Okay, you just keep it in mind for this time. Okay. For more information, you can think of alphabets in C++, alphabets in English language. So just like before learning English language you learn alphabets, here you learn tokens. Okay, so it's that simple. So we have 5 types of tokens in C++. 5 categories of tokens are there, in fact: identifiers, keywords, literals, punctuators, and operators. So we'll discuss all of them one by one now. First of all, let us discuss identifiers. Now, if you remember, and if you have watched my previous videos, I had written an algorithm of addition of 2 numbers in which I took few things like A, B, C, and so on. So these A, B, C are memory locations. That's what I explained in that video. Okay. Now Why do we require these memory locations? Well, of course, to store some value. Okay, so identifier is just that. Okay, so the definition of this term goes like this, that the identifier is just a name given to a memory location. Okay, so I hope it is quite clear. Now there are two types of memory locations or two types of identifiers you can have in C++: variable and constant. In most of the cases we will be dealing with variables only, but you can declare constants also if you want, if your program wants. Okay, so what is the meaning of these two types of identifiers? Well, the meaning is shown by their names only. Variable is a memory location, is a name of memory location for which the value can be changed. Okay, so for example, if I have a memory location named as A and I'm saying that A is a variable, this means that I can change its value anytime I want. If it is storing a value, for example 100 in it, I can change it to 200 if I want. If I am able to do so, I will call A as a variable. Okay, so here I have written the format in which you declare variables. Okay, so the thing that you write first is called data type. We'll discuss it, okay, in a minute. And then you write whatever name you want for the variable. Okay, what is the role of this data type? Okay, data type specifies the nature of the value a variable can store. What it means is, if I want to store a number in it, its data type should be a data type which supports storing numbers or which allows storing numbers. Okay, and if I want to store a character in it, its data type should be according to that. Okay, so this is what you have to understand, this is what you have to keep in mind all the time about data types. So here I have written an example where I have declared a variable, as you can see, int and then I. So what is int? It is a data type in C++. Okay, remember all the data types must be written in small letters, as C++ is a case sensitive language. And then after giving space I have written I. So in this case I am giving a name I am declaring a memory location named as I. So I is a variable, and semicolon sign in C++ is used to terminate a line, terminate a sentence, a statement. Okay, so just like you put a full stop after any English sentence, you put semicolon after C++ statement. Okay, so in this line, as you can see, I am storing 100 in this memory location I. So am I allowed to store 100? The answer is yes, because this I is of what type? Integer type. So it can store an integer number. Okay, so this is what is the role of the data type. Fine. Now in this line, as you can see, I have written something like this: I is equal to I plus 10. What it means is, it will add 10 to the current value of I, and then the result or the answer will be stored back to I. So simply we can say we are incrementing the value of I by 10. So the final value of I after this statement, after this instruction, will be 110. So that way we can say I is a variable. So I hope the concept of variable is clear to you now. Now talking about constants, okay, again the name itself telling what it is, okay. The constant, the only thing about constant is that you cannot change its value once it is given, and you use a special word. It's technically called as keyword. We'll be discussing it later, okay. So you use this keyword const to declare constants, okay. Rest of the format or the syntax remains same. So if I want to, wait a minute, if I want to declare a constant, means I want to declare a memory location for which I don't want to change the value, I must write the keyword const in small letters, and this you already know, okay. So this I becomes a constant, and you can check it yourself while you do it programmatically, that you type this line and it will simply not work. Why? Because the value of I is fixed, it cannot be changed, okay. So just be aware of that once a constant is given a value, it cannot be altered, okay. Now the next question is, what name we can give to a variable or to a constant? Can we give any name to it? The answer is no. There are rules that you must follow in order to declare variables or declare constants. So what are these rules? Well, an identifier name can have alphabets, digits, underscore sign, and no other character is allowed. Remember that, okay. It must not begin with a digit. As I had written here digits, it doesn't mean that you can have digits in the beginning of an identifier, okay. So it must not begin with a digit, but you can have digits anywhere else in the name of the identifier. So that's what it means. It must not be a keyword. What it means is that you cannot declare a variable with the name, for example, int, okay, as int is reserved for a specific purpose. You cannot use these things as variable names or constant names. C++ is case sensitive, so uppercase and lowercase letters are treated differently, okay. Remember that. If I write something like this, that if I am declaring a variable, if I want to declare a variable with the name int, of course I cannot do it like this, but I can do it like this, okay. This is perfectly all right, as C++ will not treat this thing as a reserved word or as a keyword simply, okay. So I hope the concept is clear. So and the last rule is that there cannot be any spaces in the name of the identifier, okay. So that's it for identifiers. Moving on to the next concept, that is the concept of data types, okay. So this topic will be covering up in our next video. So I hope all the concepts of these things are clear to you, okay. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section below, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe.